Our training school promotes international education in international business in an international environment by adapting training courses that are responsive to the needs of global entrepreneurs. ASIB is different from the regular business school that you see in the marketplace. The world of global business changes very fast, and so we at ASIB, we keep pace with the recent changes in international business. Our action plan is to provide an educational platform that will include on-the-job training at some point in time. ASIB has three main training courses. One is international trade, second, finance, three, public-private partnership. The three training courses are interrelated with each other. ASIB has also created the Center for Global Entrepreneurship. And we have Julie, who will be introduced at a later time, or after me, who will be the Executive Director for this center. Under these are courses that will support the main training courses, such as the training class today entitled Understanding Global Entrepreneurship and Language in International Business. Our next module will include turning your local business into international business and many others. Besides all this, we shall be offering training courses leading towards creating livelihood projects. An example to this is a request from China for ASIB to create a training course on jewelry making. As of yesterday, we have 27 potential participants from China who are interested to participate in jewelry making. We are in negotiation with Tiffany and the American School for Jewelry based in Florida, jewelry making, to establish strategic partnership to provide educational program on jewelry making. There are also requests from the Chinese American Culinary Association for ASIB to create a training course on how to become an effective chef. The association will provide resource persons and offer job placements to graduates of this training course. The 2020 School of Fashion Design, based in Los Angeles, California, has also requested ASIB's Center for Global Entrepreneurship to offer training course on fashion design. Just like in the case of Culinary Association, the 2020 School of Fashion Design shall provide resource persons and the possibility of job placements for graduate of this course. Third, ASIB will soon have a studio at ASIB office that will cater to online education program. There is so much interest for Chinese students and those in the Gulf region to participate in our online education program. The other day, I received an email from one of our directors, Mr. Berus Rizazadeh, and he said that he can get at least 10 people to enroll on PPP. So we're preparing our online education program. We already acquired some equipments for this, and very soon the studio will be open. So we will be offering a webinar event, live stream, and our friend Julie will help us develop all these facilities. Number 4, ASIB will be partnering with colleges and universities overseas, including trade organizations, to bring our school closer to the people and not the people closer to us. This means our training courses will be offered overseas in partnership with some universities and colleges, including trade organizations. As of today, we are in the middle of negotiations with the University of Georgia. This is at CIS, former Russian territory, including the University of Puerto Rico, Our CTIP chapter in Puerto Rico, Attorney Dario Vidal, is already negotiating with the University of Puerto Rico as we speak. Our Chinese partners are also in negotiation with some universities in Hubei and Jiangxi provinces. And today, just this morning, Selena, our CTIP chapter in China, has said that Chengdu City, the capital of Sichuan province in China, would like to be part of our Council for Trade and Investment Promotion and our ASIB, our school. So I'm happy to report to you all this development, and we hope that you'll join us in all our activities. Finally, we created ASIB because of you. We would like to be part of your journey. We would like to be part of your success, because your success is our success. Thank you. I'd like to call on Mayor Jeff.
And for us to explore the potential of international business opportunities. More importantly, it's a cornerstone for us to realize that the perimeters of this marketplace don't just end on the streets and communities we live in. They're abroad. There are highs, there are lows, there are opportunities. I've had a chance this morning for a few moments to speak to UK and to the handsome fellow in the back with the nice watch, as well as my good friend who I just met this morning, and now we're buddies, who's into commercial real estate, and she's a magnet for personalities. Is that a good description?
Thank you.
You're welcome. If in fact networking solely was your purpose, raise your hand. If networking is a part of those three things you would have said, please just raise your hand. Networking. Okay. If having a deeper knowledge of the vastness of international trade and or business was part of your understanding and expectation, raise your hand. Okay? And thirdly, the benefit. Be able to transition what was acquired here from the sharing and the conversation. If that's part of what your expectation is of today, please raise your hand. Okay. All right, so thankfully, okay. So it is our aim. It is our aim that we will fulfill those 3, 4, 5, 10 objectives. It is our aim that when things concluded, that you will have a firmer grasp of those things, be they large or small, and that you will know that we are a source for you to come to and work with and work through, so that you will see your goals fulfilled. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the purpose of today's class. International business and or trade is a shaking of hands. A little bit farther, but it's the same deal. And in the shaking of hands, here I close. Do not be surprised if the hand that you shake is sweaty, clammy, rough, soft, or gentle. It is just the first step. What matters is after the handshake, is the business done? That, ladies and gentlemen, is our purpose. Thank you. Oh, so I would like and have the distinct pleasure of bringing to the podium Ms. Julie Marr Stanley, the Executive Director of the Center for Global Enterprise, ASIB.
All right, so I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today. It's a pleasure to have you. My name is Julie May Stanley, and I'm excited to join Fernando in supporting his initiative and be a part of ASIB and leading the Center for Global Entrepreneurship.
Do you need somebody to work the machine?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was thinking I was going to do that.
Can you do that, or you guys?
So I want to thank Fernando for inviting me to present, and I'd also like to say a part of showing up, as someone famous says, that 80% of success is, is just showing up. So thanks for your time and your energy. It's more than just, let's go see what's taking place, but it's actually giving yourself completely to it. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself so that you have a reason, have some idea or context as to why you should even be listening to me, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so just share a little bit about me. When I left, I lived in Chile and I had planned to go back, so I was there for a year. And after graduating from grad school, I decided to return to New York instead. I made a deal with my mom, actually. So I interviewed a couple places, and Credit Suisse, at the first place I interviewed, actually called me back immediately and offered me twice what I was asking. So of course, it was a no-brainer. It was like, hey, I've got bills to pay, so here I am. So having been there and being hired to support one department, I actually started learning a lot, and my role began to expand. I had major projects. I started to have managing projects throughout Asia, Europe, and the Americas. So I was responsible for all their marketing strategies, system development, training, all their global initiatives and websites, internet resources. And as I progressed, I started noticing a pattern that my projects were not coming in on time, and I wasn't as, it wasn't as efficient as I used to be. So I had to step back. I had to see what was taking place, where was I going wrong, why the projects were taking longer. And after further analysis, I realized that the projects that were delayed were actually global in nature. So, but it wasn't just because of the time differences. It was really because, it wasn't the time difference or the technology. It was really because of the people. It was the communication, the interpersonal skills. It's we do it this way. There would be time, there were 3 months that we spent on just words, terminologies. So having this insight, I was able to address these hiccups or obstacles head on before the problem arose. And that's what helped me to then like skyrocket through the department. By the time I left there, I was managing 7 departments and global initiatives for all the technology projects. And after that, I went on to start my own business, being president of the NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, Central Jersey. Went to White House, met with the White House executive, and had an amazing experience. And I think it's because being able to step back and see what's going on, not just in what you're doing, but having a vision, a wider scope of what's taking place in order to say, how can I manage what's going on? So having this international perspective, having traveled to Dubai and Pakistan and Chile and you name it, I've been there. I think that gives you a global perspective. So most people, when they meet me, they want to know, well, where are you from? Because it's not normal. So that brings me to global entrepreneurship. And as they said, the 21st century has disrupted the conventional method of launching, scaling, and doing business in the international market. Traditionally, companies had to establish a presence.
Password.
9339. Nobody's stealing my laptop. There's gold on there.
Where's your,
I'll just click the enter key. Hit enter. Yeah. So traditionally, companies had to establish a presence in their country of origin before venturing into the international market. All right, so this is the brand from my website, so I keep this theme throughout, and I'm always thinking of going global. How can I help you and help those around me to go international? So as I was saying, you can advance one. So welcome to Understanding Global Entrepreneurship, and as I was saying, the time has changed. No longer do you have to wait 33 years in order to expand your brand. Usually you have to start, Usually you have to start locally and then expand internationally. You no longer have to do that because of the change in times and the economies. So with 95% of US consumers outside the United States, it would be a detriment to your business success to ignore the abundance of opportunities in the global marketplace. So by the end of our time together, you will learn how to become a global entrepreneur and success strategies to achieve that goal. You'll learn the essential tools, resources, and opportunities for entrepreneurs with a global mindset. And you'll also know the top 5 tips to excel in global entrepreneurship. You'll be able to answer the following question. What is global entrepreneurship and why does it matter? What does it mean to be born global? And why is global entrepreneurship important to my business? So we talk about, global entrepreneurship. And usually, like I said, it's you starting your company in your country, and as I was told before, Julie, you have to establish your business here in the U.S. before you can even think of going global. And I thought, well, why do I have to do that? All right. So now you can see, because of the political, economic barriers that are now diminished, it makes it easier for trade, and technology bridges that gap. Next. So what is global entrepreneurship? Here's a definition by the Financial Times. Global entrepreneurship is a trait or characteristics in our definition of a global leader. Global entrepreneurs are professionals who use their global understanding and connection to identify transnational and cross-cultural opportunities and turn them into new value-creating initiatives. Yes, that's a mouthful, but you get the idea. Next. So there are different types of global entrepreneurship. There is the intrapreneur, which is more corporate. So, for example, Merrill Lynch, one of my clients, would have been considered an intrapreneur, okay? What they do is basically, as an entrepreneur, within your company, a team or an individual will decide or come up with new ideas, creative ideas for the company. And they will create a new division or a new company within the corporation. So it's no longer for you, the personal individual, but the company benefits. And then there is social enterprise that goes under the global entrepreneurship, and those would be considered nonprofits. So Plan USA, now what they do is they support women and girls and those who are in need of education, for example, water. And I'd just like to structure a little bit about how the different global entrepreneurships are structured. The next we have Born Global. Now Born Global is different. Born Global is what I would like to envision myself as. I'm not going to wait 10 years before I tap into this new market, okay? I want to say, you know what, there's a market, there's an economy going on over there that I can tap into. Why stay here in a saturated market and, suffer through self-inflicted wounds by staying here when I could go internationally? So I've kind of scribbled 3 really quick models here, but the idea being that this is the product that would be created here. So for example, there's a company in Turkey that they decided they were going to create high-end leather goods. They have the company in Turkey, they design it in Turkey, but everything goes to another country. So it goes to some Russian high affluent individuals. Then there is what you would call like the social entrepreneurs, like Plan USA. They have the main headquarters, but they have branches in each individual countries. So that's another model for global entrepreneurship. And then there is this third model, which is a little bit more interesting because we'll have someone here in the US and they will tap into the different countries. They will get the leather from China, or they may get the bottle from another country and the packaging from another country. So they get all the different pieces they need from different countries and then ship it to a third supplier or distributor. Okay, any questions with that? So that's just the 3 different,
Well, the third, so getting the raw material at bargain prices, whatever you can negotiate, as compared to being held hostage.
Right.
That's the difference being born global. Well, not being born global, but that model.
Yeah,
So-
with the global entrepreneurship.
Right,
It's-
so you're
it's
looking
different.
at, the world is not as big, you're looking at as small enterprises, you're gonna negotiate your own deal.
Yes.
And then you're gonna find your own distributor, your own, all the way down the line, so you have control over that conversation.
Yeah,
We good with that? From the experience we talked about? She knows what I'm talking about, right? You okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this model basically is just individuals saying, I'm not going to get everything here. I'm going to start sourcing it from different countries, of course, because of cost and efficiency, and maybe sell it in the location where the demand is.
How much of this has to do with political environment, the model, preferring the model? Because the politics does dictate the changes.
Well, the politics dictates as well as the demand and the need, because for the guy who's in Russia, he knows that that market is already saturated. So, and Turkey, so are the consumers there, are they going to pay the kind of price that he's looking for his belt? And since Russia, or the former Soviet Union, is now on the rise with, and they're more affluent, then the demand is going to be greater because they want everything to be extravagant. And you can make a quicker profit in a shorter period of time
On which model?
with this one.
Okay.
So these are just the three different types of global entrepreneurship. Okay. So here are the advantages of global entrepreneurship. You're tapping into an emerging economy, so it's brand new. Remember, here in the US, we're very advanced. We're much more developed. And as they say, 95% of our consumers are international, outside the United States. And they say only 1% of small businesses actually export. So imagine all the economies out there, third world countries that are just starting to come up. And now you could be the first to enter that market. So that's considered an emerging economy. The fact that you're small, you're quick and you're nimble, you're easier to get to market, you get in, you get out at a greater speed than a larger corporation. A larger corporation have to deal with their constituents. And in your case, it's just you, your partner, and you decide where you want to go, of course, with more research, then you decide that. As I mentioned here, it's a saturated market, so you can get out of the saturated market and leave it to your competition, and then you can just skyrocket. Of course, it's not easy as it sounds, but it starts there. And also, it's crucial. Small business, global entrepreneurship is crucial for economic growth. Without enterprise and entrepreneur available presence, there will be little innovation, productivity, growth, and fewer jobs. All right, so how do you become a global entrepreneur? That's the big question. So let's start with the psychic distance. All right. Has anyone ever heard the term psychic distance? No. Okay, so it's interesting because as I think Fernando saw my last presentation at the SBDC, and I talked a lot about these things. And then after research, I realized, wait a minute, this is actually the term that encompasses everything I've been talking about. So the psychic distance, as you will see, was coined by a British economist named Wilfred Beckerman back in 1956. He coined the psychic distance, which is the sum of factors between the market and your enterprise. Okay? It encompasses the language, the culture, the political system, the level of education, economic development stage, and the psychic distance is considered as the greater the difference of the environment between the home and the host country, the farther the psychic distance is. So let me explain that in a more layman terms. The psychic distance, so for example, the greater, the farther, and I can email the presentation to you if you want, so no problem there. So I'll get that to you. So this the difference between the environment, between the home and the host country. This is the most powerful line, all right? So the psychic distance. The farther the difference is between your country and the country that you would like to enter, that's the farthest psychic distance. The closer you are in similarities, in the language, in the culture, in the level of education, that's the nearer psychic distance. So the nearer the psychic distance is, it's recommended that that would be your first target, all right? So for someone to get up and say, well, you know what? Well, I use the example of Encanto, Puerto Rico, right? They basically have a coffee shop and they want to sell their coffee internationally. So the US would be the perfect place to send it. But what did they do instead? They went to Spain, even though it's farther away. So although the US is close in proximity to Puerto Rico, they thought Spain would be better. Can anyone tell me why?
Language.
The language, anything else? The culture, the taste. They feel that the coffee would sell better in Spain than it would be here. Because here it would be more of an acclimated taste. So having that psychic distance, which is much closer to the home country and the host country, makes it much more easier for them to sell their coffee and see the growth that they're looking for. From that, they were able to then enter the US market. But can anyone guess where they went first? Did they come to New York,
Florida.
New Jersey? Yes, they went to Miami next. They went to Miami next. Why?
Latin.
Exactly. Yeah.
Distance.
Yeah, the psychic
The
distance.
distance.
Yeah, the psychic distance, which is shorter because of the culture, the taste, the flavor. So when you're entering a new market, you want to think about your psychic distance. A lot of people ignore all these factors and they look at the emerging economies. I know I mentioned that, but it doesn't mean that that's what you need to do. It means you need to do your homework, look at the different facets and see. Start here, your psychic distance. And then you make an executive decision of where you want to go and how to move forward. Okay. Oh, any questions? Okay, next. Yeah, I just gave that example. All right, so how do you assess your psychic distance? You conduct primary and secondary research. Primary research, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I have a master's in library and information science. Not because I love to read books, but because I love research and I love systems. The second is secondary research. Another that I have a degree in is user experience design. I care about the people. I want to know how your experience is. I want to know how you interact with the technology that I'm designing. I want to know how do you feel coming into this space. User experience design. You need to do the same thing for your audience. And I'm sorry, I don't care how wonderful your product is and how great your team is. If the people don't like it, you're not going to go anywhere. If it doesn't fit the culture, it won't go anywhere, okay? Next, reach out to your networks. Mayor Jeff made a good point. He talked about shaking hands as the very first step. Do you know what I call that? I think Fernando knows what I call that because he was in my last presentation. What do you call that when you shake the hand of the person you met?
Icebreaker.
I call it, good one, I call it, when I go over to someone and I meet them for the first time, I say, hello, hi, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, really?
Right? We exchange business cards. And then people say, oh, they start to, someone did an interview me and said, so besides throwing away the business cards, what else do you recommend? I said, I never throw away anybody's business cards. That means that you have no value. The person is not important. Why would I do that? Would you want someone to do that to your business card? So I say that the first time you meet someone, that's the seed that you're planting. That's the seed that you're planting, and the onus is up on you to nurture that seed so that it can develop and grow and blossom into a beautiful, profitable, abundant relationship. Reach out to your networks and you start talking to them. I guarantee you there's at least 5 to 10 different nationalities in here. Someone can tell you something about the country that you're looking to enter. so you can get the answers to your site pick distance. Gather market intelligence, great source, export.gov. There are tons of resources. There's videos that you can watch from just starting out to actually expand it to the next stage, okay? All right, so we're talking about global entrepreneurship and just entrepreneurship in general, which does encompass it all, right? But it's not all green pastures. Yes, exactly. So it's great to say, yes, you can do these things, but a lot of the time, there is one thing, there is a death and the demise of a lot of these entrepreneurs and global enterprises. Can anybody guess what it is with this hint? I'll tell you.
Standardization, lack thereof.
Yes, next. Fascinating enough, the companies, the global enterprises, they seem to have a 2-1-2 goal, right? So within the first 3 years, 3 to 5 years, they have 2 years that their revenues skyrocket and 2 years that it doesn't, all right? So it's sort of like this. You know, something like that. So the first year they go up, the second they go up, the third year they plummet, all right? So it's like they reach the mountain of creativity and then they drop to the valley of destruction. And so as you look at the data, you start to see why. What is the problem? Why is it that they would go up and down, or the first year they go up, the second year they go down to the valley of destruction, and you wonder what the problem is. Well, they don't have a quality management system. So many people are planning, they have a vision, they have action, they do have a policy, a procedure. They don't have a quality management system. Okay, so what is a quality management system? So quality management system is a set of policies and process and procedures required for planning and execution. Your product, production, development, and service in the core business area of an organization. Okay, that's the definition. You're looking at everything, your policy, your procedures, your systems. How are you getting from point A to point B? It doesn't mean that today you say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go to this event and that's what I'm going to do. You need some strategy, okay? Let's go to the next one. So why is it significant to have a QMS, the quality management system? You have an ironclad set of procedure. So it doesn't matter whether the owner of the business is present or if the head of your specific department is present. If they leave or step out, guess what? You have a policy and procedure. Anybody can go over, pick it up, and start the process without them there. Because you know exactly what's going to happen from the moment you get a customer or from the moment you have a new employee, right? That's your policy and procedure. You also have superior quality product and services. ISO 900 is globally recognized. You don't have to be certified, but there is a certification for it. Your company don't have to have this certification unless you plan on doing some type of distribution, okay? But either way, whether you're certified or not, I cannot stress how important it is to have a quality management system in place, okay? You need to look if it's scalable. So there's process and procedure, and then there's the systems part of it. You need to look if it is scalable. How many admins can access it? I'm going to get to it next. And it also speaks volumes when you're working with industry leaders. So now, I talked about, so let's say we talked about this guy here. Oh, let's talk about this one, this model. Let's go to the next slide. So if you're doing drop shipping, Home Depot, Amazon, Best Buy, and you may say, you know what? I want to ship my products. You've got them done here. Now you're at a distribution center, or you decide to open a distribution center. In order for these guys to work with you, you know what they're going to say? let me see your quality management system. They want to see your policy and your procedure. How are you getting your customers? How are you shipping out the product? Which tracking system are you using? When the product comes in the door, who's picking it up? What mechanism are you using to scan those different devices? It's important that you have it in place, because even the big guys are looking for that as well. Why? Because they know that if they bring you on board, they can rely on you, because you have a system in place. But if you don't, you're just going to be like, oh, you know what, maybe next time. Why don't you get a certification and then give me a call? All right? All right, so here's some action items for you to review your current processes and services for inefficiency. And again, the quality management system is not only if you have a product-based business. It could be a corporation, it could be a nonprofit, it could be a born global enterprise, okay? Policy, look at your employee, your customers, your partners. How are you working with them? From the moment you meet someone, what information do they get? Okay? Look at your procedures, your customer acquisition process.
Flyers don't work?
It works. Listen, it's the whole process. You may say, no. You may say, I'm giving out flyers. Okay, what happens after they come in?
True. A little coupon at the bottom.
Okay, yeah. So you have a flyer, you have a coupon at the bottom, and they come in. What happens? Who's taking that? Where are they being tracked? How do you look at that data at the end? Are you even going to look at the data? I just gave out 1,000 flyers. How many customers did I get in the door?
How many came back? Is that a good marketing method?
Exactly. Did it really work? So that's a great example. And I know you were joking, but it was a great example. So and I mean that. You have to look at each and everything that you're doing and see at the end of the day, can I look, oh, did those flyers work? Oh yeah, wow, I got 10 repeat customers. Or maybe it didn't work. Oh, 5 people came to the door.
So when you mentioned scalable before, and for the 3 students in the back particularly, the question is, you talk about 1,000 to 5,000 flyers. When you're doing, at least as you defined it, the quality management system, you're taking a look at what percentage, and you and I were talking about that before, the radius of the folks within your restaurant's boundary. You have to first determine, I think, what would be reasonable. That's what she's talking about, scalable. Scalable suggests if you send out 1,000 flyers, but you get 2 customers, is that good? Well, it depends. If you ask those customers, where are you coming from? And they tell you they came 50 miles away, you've got an impact area. But if they all said, I just live down the street, well, you may not be able to make any real determinations just then. That's part of what this conversation is about. And being here in the U.S. and doing business overseas, you still have to find that mechanism to be sure. Or if you're in Ecuador and you're doing business, but you want tourists here, you're just doing the reverse order. You follow me?
And then you look at your logistics, your drop shipping, your fulfillment centers, okay? So if you have a viable quality management system, you're able to see what's coming in, what's going out, who's doing what, who's responsible for what are your policies, what are your procedures. If you're not there and there's a new employee, what are the steps to get that employee up and running? What are the steps to get that new chef, working and in the kitchen? Like, what is the process that they go through, all right?
So your 3 of your businesses, your enterprises, have you begun the process of creating policies and procedures? Have you even thought that was necessary? I mean, you're in a restaurant business, it's food, right? But even with restaurants,
Oh yeah.
whatever the market is that you're in, policies and procedures are your roadmap for what may or may not come. And forgive me if I speak out, but I just want to make sure that we're not losing this on you, that you think, well, that's corporate. This is any business.
It's any business.
Every business has to have, even if it's 2 pages, hope not, but 2 pages, so that when you're not there, the sandwich that you want made is made the same way every day.
Exactly. And then answer these 5 questions. When you look at your processes, your services, and you look for inefficiencies, you look at, answer those 5 W's. Where? Where do you have the problem? What is it? Why? How do you fix it? can you fix it, etc. All right. So there's a standard 5 characteristics that you always see for entrepreneurs, and it drives me crazy. So here it is. It'll say that they're decisive, or they need to be decisive. They'll have a risk tolerance. They have drive. They're motivated. They're passionate. They're versatile. They've got great business acumen. There's one that's always missing, and that's just my pet peeve, but I'll share with you. Where is it interpersonal skills? Where is the person? Where are you? The people factor. You're serving people. A company is not buying your product. It's the people in the company who will buy the product. A country is not going to buy it. It's the people that's running the country, that live in the country, that's going to buy it. You need the people factor. You need interpersonal communication skills. I don't care how passionate you are, when you get to make that sale and you don't connect with that person, you're just going to see you as cold. And it doesn't matter how passionate and how much drive and what your accolades are, how many degrees you have, it doesn't matter to them. They're just going to be like, no, I don't like her.
So it's true, you only get only one time to make a first impression.
Exactly. Okay? And my first impression, my first impression, yeah. No, it's good.
My job is to make sure you leave here with what you paid for.
Yeah.
Entertain, thoroughly entertain,
Make it
and full.
entertaining.
But you learn more when you
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks.
And you know what? When you leave, you remember it because you said, that was fun. I had a great time. I learned a lot. Guess what, you guys? You can go back next time. And this is what I said to Fernando. It was like, the experience they have needs to be first and foremost. Okay, so thank you, Major, for bringing the entertainment. All right, so Major talked about first impressions. You only get that one chance to make a first impression, and I think that's important because for me, I don't think it's the way the person looks, it's how you make me feel. How do you make the person feel when you're doing this presentation? How do you make them feel when you meet them for the first time? Okay, so that's where it's important. All right, so global entrepreneurship success. I've come up with a quick method. All right, so what is a quick method? Anybody want to read it to me?
Oh,
Yes.
quick MVP, understand culture, intelligent data, customer avatar, know your strengths, and find team to complement you.
Exactly. So I think this is a quick method, right? For an entrepreneur, small business who want to get out there, you've got to be quick, exceptionally quick. No time, and I know a lot of us, and I'm going to go there with the ladies, we do tend to second guess ourselves and start over and do another. It needs to be quick, like let's get it moving. And I know that guys do it too, but us ladies, you know, I've come a long way, so I can say that I've been there too. What was that?
I said procrastination.
Yes. So, so you gotta be quick. And so being quick means you start with the MVP. Anybody knows what MVP stands for?
Most valuable player.
Very close. Minimum viable product.
I like that one.
It's called the lean startup. Minimum viable product. You want to do something? You don't have time to make it pretty. You don't have time to put in all the bells and whistles and do all these things. And okay, now I'm ready. No. Times have changed. Remember I talked about political and economical barriers being dropped and technology bridging that gap? Okay, now it's time for you to say, let me go out with the minimum viable product, get it out to the market, and guess what will happen? They will build the product for you. Anybody heard of Periscope? You heard of Periscope?
The application.
Social media.
Yeah, live streaming. Okay. Periscope came out, every time you went live, it crashed. In the middle of a conversation, it crashed. But you know what? People stayed on it. And what did they do? Oh, this doesn't work. It would be great if we were able to interact with each other. It would be great if we were able to give more hearts. It would be great. And guess what the developers are doing? Taking all that feedback. Phase 2, boom, out.
Doesn't that affect the first impression phase though?
No, because with the way things are now, if you put it out and you say this is beta, oh, it's off, right? Because now you know this is beta. Here is what it's testing. Blab went live. Blab allowed for 4 screens, which is what the complaint was with Periscope. Periscope was only one, which is live streaming for those of you who are not familiar with Periscope. So Periscope allowed you to go live and communicate with people via your phone, and they respond to you via text, right? So you have little messages that pop up on your phone, and you're able to communicate with them. One of the complaints they had was that, oh my goodness, I wish I could bring someone else on the screen with me so we can have a conversation. Then Blab came into the picture and said, hey, you could do 4 screens. But by the way, this is a beta site. Everybody was on it, okay? Damon John's Shark Tank, he was on it. There's lots of interviews that went up on Blab. People love Blab the way it was. Later on, Blab came out and said, you know what? The system isn't being used the way that we expected it to, so we're just gonna shut it down and we'll see you back in a few months. It's okay. So you go out with the least minimal viable product that you can for your project. I'm not saying to go out bad. I'm saying use the minimal that you need.
So keeping it simple, so it's
Keeping it simple, and then get out there. Have a what is it? What's the expression?
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid, but I'm talking about the honey. The honey and the bee and,
Yeah.
all right? So
You got a book. You got a book.
don't be afraid to try something new and use your platform for more than what you think that they are, the initial purpose. So the next is intelligence data. Based on what Mayor Jones was saying, you know, you're gonna look at what you've gathered, see how you can adjust, and test the waters with the people and look back at it. Go to trade.gov, export.gov, and get information on the market that you're looking for. Customer avatar.
Just profile customer, your best customer.
Customer avatar. I cannot tell you how important this is. It's not everybody's going to use my service, okay? Who is going to use it? Where do they live? Are you trying to reach an affluent client? Okay, well, if I'm trying to reach someone who's going to pay, you know, $10,000 per vacation or $20,000, well, what kind of job does this person have? Where do they work?
how old are they?
How old are they? What do they read? They read the Financial Times?
So you're doing a DNA on these people.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's tight. That's
Okay? You're looking at your customer avatar. And what do they play? Do they play basketball? Well, I think this guy's going to be playing golf.
Thank you very much.
Okay? So you have to know your avatar. You can't say, you know what? I have this product, I send it to these people, I have 1,000 people on my list, but nobody signed up. Well, maybe it's because they're in a different demographic, they have a different profession, they have a different interest. Okay,
You
so
have to know who you're going to target, basically.
yeah, you have to know your target audience, but create a customer avatar. Just knowing your audience is not enough. You need to be able to look at that person and say, you know, I understand that Merrill Lynch didn't do so well. Like, you have to be able to talk the stock market or something to that person so that you can capture them. Going to them and talking about the basketball game is going to be useless. But if you could talk about the last game golf you played, guess what? They're like, wait a minute.
Drove it 200 yards.
So know your customer avatar is essential. So create one of those.
Because it's a dinner party theory. It's we used to talk about it. It's called a tea party. If you're going to invite some people to a tea party, you're going to invite people you don't want to talk to. You're going to invite people who have common interests, and you're not just inviting them to share tea. You're actually inviting them because they have a purpose behind that invitation. Is you're wanting to know more about them, how to get access to their business. Will they refer you to other folks? If you're not going to go that deep, why do it?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And last but not least is know your strengths and find a team of people who complement you. If you're a visionary, don't get someone else who's a visionary. Okay, you will get nowhere. They may be like you, they share the vision and all that great stuff, but guess what? You're both going to be sitting there daydreaming because you're never going to have a plan.
I know. Girl, you know you right. You right.
So this is why it's important that you have someone who has skills that you don't have.
One has to take the initiative. One
Yeah,
person has to be.
Well, it's a trait. It's a personality trait. Okay? So they have personality assessment. They do that a lot now for companies before they hire you. They have you answer a series of questions. And I can know immediately that I'm not going to fill that quote or whatever they're looking for because I don't have those skills. I don't have, I put people first. And so it's not going to say, how many people can I get in the door by a certain amount of time?
No, I was breathing. Breathe.
So most visionaries need administrators.
Well, you may need administrators, you need executioners. However, I know now that there needs to be a plan. There needs to be an action, and someone needs to be able to take it and execute it. And that's what we're going to do.
And then
Go ahead.
and in the sports metaphor, we would say, you can't always. Everybody can't be the coach. Everybody can't be the linesman. Everybody can't be so forth and so on. But here's the difficulty, and this is true. In politics, it's the same way. A mayor is the mayor, but every person that we hire thought they were the mayor. And you go, excuse me?
Yeah.
I got elected, you got selected.
Right. So the difficulty, and then I'm gonna sit down and be quiet. The difficulty is this. Am I sitting down already?
Yeah, you're
Okay, so what's that? So here's the difficulty because you offered this perspective, and I see we keep trying to synthesize, and it's okay. We keep trying to find out. So it's like this. No, it's not like that. This is called trial and error. You really need to sit down and interview your team. You really need to understand somebody who's just like you, bad move.
Yeah.
Somebody who fights you may not be a good move either.
That's right.
But what skill sets, and we call it a SWOT analysis, what strengths do you have? What weaknesses? Your weaknesses, that's what you're looking for. Okay? If you get somebody who's got the same strength as you, you're going in a circle.
The other thing I see working with business owners is that when they're looking to hire someone, they basically go to that person and say, oh, can you work with me? And then they create something and say, this is what I want you to do. Instead of doing it in reverse.
This is what I need.
Create a job description of the person that you're looking for.
And work with the end in mind.
Yes, and say, this is the job, this is the role, and say, here you go, this is what I'm looking someone to fill this
I
role.
want it too.
Okay?
I see that.
Yes,
I'm watching you.
So you need to do it, and most
Wait
of the
till the
time,
test comes, that's what I want.
I think you'll pass.
I hope
Most
so.
of the time, people are just really just looking for the help, and they take anybody that comes and say, okay, this is what you want you to do, which is in reverse. Okay?
Or the smoke. Because every time somebody tells you they have a talent and a skill set,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that. That's why know you first. Know your shortcomings first. Know the things that you don't like doing first. So the person that comes, you know right away, okay, and you give them a test. And I agree, you got to test them.
Yeah. So I call that candid conversations.
You got names for all kinds of stuff.
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
I like that.
Yes, it's candid conversations. You have a candid conversation with yourself about what your strengths are and who do you need to support you. Okay. All right. So does size matter? No, it doesn't. Okay. You're able. Mattel basically flopped. Okay. They went to Argentina. They opened up the Barbie mall there, and it was huge. They did the same thing and thought, hey, this works. can't go wrong. I got a proven model here. They took that, went to China, and they heard crickets. So they had to, literally a building sits there empty right now. And they're huge. They've been around for years. Okay? Walmart, McDonald's figured it out. For every country that they go to, they have a different flavor food. They have a black burger for Japan. They have curry, apple pie, something for India. So you need to be able to adjust, to be flexible when you're going to take your product. And you can't be so attached to it. You're like, you know what? It has to be this way. I can't change anything else. If you want to go global and expand internationally, you need to be able to make the adjustments as you see it and adjust to the culture, the environment, everything else.
Or die stagnant.
Or die, yeah.
I think it's a nice balance too, because you don't want to change too much that it changes completely the whole vision and mission of whatever you created, but you do want to change with the times, so you adjust.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely.
But wait.
I didn't
But there
understand.
are just because you made.
I don't know, but I was trying, I left
I
it
saw
for the
that.
time.
There are times by which the market, and that's where what we're actually talking about international. Sometimes the market's going to tell you
Yeah,
the initial seed of your idea, it has merit.
yeah,
But based on the product availability, this, that, and the other, you've got to go a totally different direction. And that's when having your plan, having the team, knowing where to get your resources, that's, because what if that leap is the bigger leap than you ever expected? But if you stay close to what you feel comfortable with, it's only, has to be this way, you're going to die.
yeah.
That's just the truth of it.
So cultural intelligence is basically, it's not just the religion, it's not just what they eat, it's the existence of their being, it's who they are. Okay? And if you cannot, or if you do not like a person's culture or can't appreciate the country, then don't even bother going there. And you have to be ready to seize the moment, but you need to be flexible as well. All right, so action items. Identify the countries with free trade. This is kind of help you to to get started into global entrepreneurship. Identify the countries with visa waiver program. So I know that Chile has a visa waiver program. So anybody at any time can literally just go buy a ticket and come to the US without having to get a visa. So I know right away that if I have a client and I wanted to come over and look at some property, guess what? I don't have to wait for, they don't have to worry about trying to get visa, and is this going to work, and what's going to happen at immigration. None of that stuff. They buy a ticket, they come over, and it's
Until now.
so identify the visa waiver program. Visit export.gov to get market intelligence on your market. They have a great resource here, okay? They have a video series, like as I mentioned before. Go to Department of Commerce. If you want to find about opportunities that are taking place internationally, sign up for their webinars. Every month they have it on education, technology, different countries. It's wonderful, okay? Use International Trade Statistics Yearbook, and you can find the product service code that's for your industry, for your market. And then you'll be able to go and do your additional research to see where the hottest market. You can see emerging economies. Do you want to go there? It's brand new. Why sit here in a saturated market when you could tap into an emerging economy and service a group of people who are in need? Okay? All right. So here's to your success. I thank you all for listening. Stay focused.